I'm Jeff Woods, and this is your NASCAR fix on what was supposed to be Daytona 500 Day. However, Mother Nature has decided she doesn't like auto racing, or at least NASCAR for that matter. For the second straight event, Mother Nature forcing the schedule to change. It started with the Clash when it was moved up an entire day, and now the Daytona 500 pushed back until Monday at 4 o'clock. And we're just not getting much luck with the Daytona 500 running on the actual day, on the actual time it's supposed to be run. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for everyone involved. It's frustrating for NASCAR, frustrated for obviously the fans. It's frustrating for anyone that is attending the race, whether it be media, workers, you name it. But I have to applaud NASCAR for one thing. They made the announcement Sunday morning pretty early. They don't normally do that. I think they saw that there was no chance they were going to be able to get the race in, and they just went ahead and made the call, and they haven't always done that in the past. So now we get two races on Monday, the Xfinity Series at 11, and then, of course, the Daytona 500 at 4 o'clock. And again, I applaud NASCAR. It was the right call. They saw the forecast. It wasn't going to happen. Speaking of rainouts, there's a couple things regarding rainouts that I do briefly want to discuss before moving on to the next topic. And the first one is, I am someone of the belief that you have to run the full 500 miles. I don't care what has to be done unless there are just extreme circumstances that dictate you in the race early. Even if you have to stay an extra 2 days, I want to see the full 500 miles as a fan. The second aspect of rainouts, in light of how many we've seen with the Daytona 500, I think NASCAR really, really, really needs to consider bumping up the start by several hours. Now, I know that it wasn't going to matter today. Today was going to be a complete washout, and again, they made the right call. However, you want to give yourself every opportunity to get all 500 miles in. And if you're starting the race at 3 o'clock Eastern time, you're not giving yourself that opportunity. Take it back 2 hours, 1 o'clock Eastern time. I think that's a fair compromise. All right, the second thing I wanted to talk about today was I watched the truck race on Friday. I watched highlights of the ARCA race Saturday morning. What are we doing? And the thing that I noticed was they're not supposed to be locking bumpers. They were locking bumpers all race long. I wonder if it makes sense to eliminate bump drafting altogether for at least the trucks and ARCA. Xfinity, they're better at it. Cup, they're better at it. But these drivers, for the most part, are so inexperienced when it comes to racing on a super speedway, racing at Daytona. They're not ready to do this kind of drafting. Why put themselves and the teams in this situation where they know that more than likely they're going to come back with a torn up race car? And to me, it devalues the significance of the victory. You have some of these races where you may have 9 to 10 cars left after a full field. And then it just becomes surviving and being fortunate enough to not be taken out by someone else. I really hope we don't see the same thing in Xfinity and in Cup racing, but unfortunately, that type of racing and just nothing but chaos, especially in the last 20, 25 laps, that's become the norm. And it's become so much that we just, shrug our shoulders and say, that's just racing. It wasn't always like that. And this is not these guys don't have respect for each other and everything, although that is somewhat of a belief of mine. But it's more of just, that's just how it goes with this type of racing. Again, was not always like that. And so the third thing I want to talk about, it's 23 years to the day that Dale Earnhardt passed away in the 2001 Daytona 500. And in light of it being 23 years to the day, I thought I would share a few memories of that day for me and just the impact that Dale Earnhardt had on me as a NASCAR fan. I'll first say that Dale Earnhardt was my favorite driver. Pretty sure he was the reason why I started watching when I was 3 years old. He was driving the Wrangler car, and he was in the lead by a wide margin. And as a 3-year-old, I saw the number 3, and that was my guy. I picked the right one, I guess. He ended up winning 6 championships since he started driving the 3 car. So on that day in 2001, the crash happened, and I was a senior in high school at the time. And the crash happens, and like everybody else, you think, it didn't seem like all that bad an accident. You see the video of the ambulance headed toward the hospital. You hear Kenny Schrader's comments after the race. You know, looking back on it now, you see the writing on the wall after the fact. But, you know, someone, again, I was 18 years old. I just was not thinking the worst. So the race goes off the air, and I went with my parents to dinner. We went out to eat, and, you know, about a couple hours later, we come back, and we are wondering if there's any update on Earnhardt. And so we start thumbing through the channels, and we go to a channel, and someone, I believe, is reporting from a press box and starts referring to him in the past tense. And my dad and I just kind of look at each other, and we're just like, what? And then a few moments later, they put up that graphic with, you know, the year you're born and then the year you passed with his face on it. And that was rough. I'm not going to deny that I cried. I cried that night. I think I cried the next day. And I've cried a few times after that in the 23 years since. It sucks. It still sucks. I don't think NASCAR has been the same. I really don't. And that was, without a doubt, the darkest day in the history of NASCAR. All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the NASCAR Fix. I will have another video up after the Daytona 500 with my quick reaction. Hopefully it will be a fun race, an exciting race, and one that does not get postponed anymore due to the weather. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, and please hit that subscribe button as well. I'm Jeff Woods, and this is your NASCAR Fix. I'll be back after the Daytona 500. See ya.